It is our quality time interview and opportunity to spend a little extra time with our next guest, and that guest will be Shawn Seematter. He is the head coach of the St. Mary's Colgan football team. Coach, appreciate your time. I mean, this time of the year, like what is practice like this time of the year for the Panthers?
Yeah, well, thanks for having me on. I always enjoy listening to different people on the show, so it's great to be on. But yeah, practice. It's we still try to keep it as intense and focused and intentional as possible. We've got a veteran group that understands the dynamics of where we're at this point in the season. So you naturally things you get through a little quicker, a little more efficient. But ideally, yeah, I thought we had a great week last week, even given the weather conditions down here in Southeast Kansas a couple of days. I thought our kids were very intentional, very focused, and just very intense. You could definitely tell the playoffs had started and things were ramped up a notch.
You talk about the intensity. Doesn't this time of the year, like if you have like your football brain, like doesn't it just feel better? Like I don't know if it's a combination because of the weather, if it's cooler out. Obviously, the postseason brings that extra excitement, and it's nothing against those days in like August and September. But when it's like 90 plus degrees, and you're getting ready for week one or week two game, like do you feel that too? Just like the excitement of football this time of the year?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you said I think there's something with the weather, and I think too just the nature of losing go home playoffs. Every week
Yeah.
could be the last. Whereas those hot early season practices, you're looking down the road at thinking how many more you've got left. Whereas now, man, any given week could be your last week. So I think that certainly adds a dimension to it as well with the feel to practice.
This time of the year, like how much are you trying to add new wrinkles to your system? Because I think that's kind of one of the excitement things when I watch team, from start to finish, is how they incorporate new things throughout the season. But especially this time of the year, where it can be important. I know you don't want to do any overload, but at the same time, like how many new wrinkles are you trying to add this time of the season, Coach?
Well, I think you hit on it there. You certainly don't want to overwhelm or overload your kids, and so I think it kind of varies year to year based off the group you have and what you feel like you do well, and just some of the things that I think that's why just self scouting is important. Seeing where are we weak, where do we need additional plays or schemes or whatever it might be. So I think knowing your kids, knowing what your weaknesses are, being able to evaluate and assess what you need to have in, and then I think just continue to progress. We try to build in things throughout the week, not even necessarily with the intent of running it that week, but something that we could see down the road. Maybe a defense that we haven't seen previously, or a coverage, having different answers within the playbook throughout the season. So ideally, you're not adding a whole lot, is just you're just pulling out tools out of the toolbox that you've been working on all year. But inevitably, you try to keep some tricks up your sleeve, I guess, if you will,
Sure.
for the right moment to throw them out. But yeah, and you're a little bit scheming specific to the team you're playing, and maybe adding in a few wrinkles here or there. But for the most part, I think just continuing to build off of what you do within your system and what fits your kids as you progress throughout the year.
When you look back, like, the start of a season and like, toward the end of the season, like, are you building to a certain amount of plays like that you want to add to your playbook? Okay, this is what we have, week one. This is what I want to get to, say, week 13. Like, are you trying to get to a certain amount, or does it happen more organically?
I would say it happens more organically as you go throughout the year. Again, last year, coming into the year, we had, I think we had 9 new starters on both sides of the ball. This year, coming into the year, we returned 9 starters on both sides of the ball. So I think organically throughout the year this year, we were able to maybe get to more or add more in. But a little bit of it too is based off the opponents you're seeing and how the playoffs line up of what tie are we seeing 3-4, we seeing 4-3, 4-2-5, and so a little bit of it too I think is just organic naturally based off of the teams you're seeing and what do we feel we need to have in to be effective against the teams we're going to see down the road.
Your gut feeling, like going into a season, like do you have a pretty good feel? Okay, this is what we got. And, this is kind of like the expectations. What was your feeling going into this year?
Yeah, I think the gut feeling going into this year was certainly one of excitement. One of optimism. We're very optimistic with the group we had coming back. We knew what they were capable of. But there's always question marks. Always question marks of what are we going to be good at, and you don't know until you start playing. And I think that our schedule early, was challenging with our league opponents, and we were able to find out some stuff early of what we were good at and what we need to improve at. But yeah, coming into this year, there was certainly one of of high hopes, of high optimism, and just it certainly lived up to that too. In just the quality of the character of our kids, we knew that whatever happened, we felt confident that they were going to roll with the punches and continue to get better each and every week, and feel like they've done that.
Shawn Seematter, the head coach of St. Mary's Colgan football team, joining us here on the show. Like for you, your coaching start, beginning at Washburn Rural, right out of college. What was that experience like, and what'd you pick up there?
Yeah, I really enjoyed coaching football there at Washburn Rural. I came from a small school, so being at a big school like that was certainly an eye-opening experience. But getting to work with Coach Bueller was great. Really, really enjoyed Coach Bueller, and very cool to see the success that they've had. Coach Slotnick and he's calling the offense now, and defensive coordinator was there when I was there too. So the continuity of that staff that's been with Coach Bueller since he's been there has been cool to see, and so just really happy for those guys. And it was just a great eye-opening experience to see football at that level. I certainly learned a lot, and very happy that I got to have that experience.
And then obviously making that stop back in Halstead, like, did you always know that like you wanted to get to a head coaching position? Was that always the end goal?
Yeah, it was. It was certainly something I didn't know when or where or how, but I always knew that I wanted to be a head coach. So when I got the opportunity to go work with Coach Greider, who I played for at Royal Valley, he took the head coaching job down there at Halstead, and got the opportunity to go work with him as a defensive coordinator. Felt like it was too good of an opportunity to pass up. It was a big jump early. Did not anticipate becoming a coordinator that soon, but it was certainly something I couldn't turn down, couldn't pass up. And working with Coach Greider was such a great experience as well. Learned so much about just day-to-day operations of being a head coach. And I think too, that relationship that I had with him allowed him to trust me and give me a lot of, freedom and flexibility, and just kind of a behind the scenes look at what all goes into being a head coach.
What went into the hiring process when you found out about the opportunity at St. Mary's Colgan? What was that experience like?
Well, yeah, obviously I knew the position had come open. Was very happy with where I was at Halstead, happy with what we had going on and just that role. So I wasn't necessarily looking to leave, but somebody that I knew at Halstead that worked within the Wichita Diocese had turned me on to it and said, hey, I think you should apply. So turned in the application, obviously, and got a phone call to come down for an interview. And it was actually, when I came to interview, I think it was the second time in my life that I had been to Pittsburgh. So I really came in fresh, didn't know what to expect, didn't know many people here. And so it was certainly, it was a whirlwind for sure, to go from that first interview to getting the call to being that, to accepting, to then moving to Pittsburgh and, taking over a place and moving into a place like St. Mary's Colgan with such tradition and success and history. And it was certainly a whirlwind of an experience for sure.
Yeah, you talk about all the tradition and success that St. Mary's Colgan has had. I mean, when you take over for a guy like Chuck Smith, like what was that like for you, and just kind of, putting your own imprint on the program, especially in that first year?
Yeah, it was, oh boy, what have I done? What did I get myself into? But no, it really, the people that were here when I got here, there were a couple of assistants that had been with Coach Smith for a while that were so great to have around, that really made that transition go smoothly. The people were very welcoming me with open arms, and just kind of embraced what we were doing and embraced the change and the new voice. And that was the thing too, all the success they had, it wasn't like there was a lot that necessarily needed to change, but just by nature of me, being someone else, someone different, there were going to be some just changes due to personality or whatever. And they were, the kids at that time were just outstanding. They were so great to work with. And like I said, the assistant coaches we had at the time were outstanding. So it was, there were big shoes to fill. It certainly has had its challenges. There's no doubt about that. There's a lot of good things about taking over for someone who had been here for so long, but certainly anytime anybody takes over a new head coaching job, there's challenges that go along with that. But all in all, it's really been a great experience, and one that I'm certainly, fortunate and thankful to have been a part of.
Well, you go back to that first year, 2017, Coach. I mean, I have to imagine it helped the transition, making it the success that you had that first year, winning 10 games and getting that state title game. Like, do you feel like that was maybe a little bit helpful for you in that first season?
Yeah, probably. No doubt. Like I said, we had a great group of kids that were so great to walk into, and, to go have the success we did and finish a state runner-ups. I think, kind of on both sides. Probably helped the community here with that transition, but it helped me as well. Transition to have such a great group of kids and realize that okay, you work hard, you treat people right, do things the right way, and the success will follow.
Well, covering high school sports, one of the things that always stands out to me that's so cool is just seeing the support and the backing of these communities that are tight knit, and it's no different in Pittsburgh. You guys, the unfortunate news, earlier in your season with Carl Roth, assistant for you on the coaching staff, longtime staple of Pittsburgh in general, just with Pitt State. How much has he been on your mind and just the team's mind this season?
Yeah, a lot. It's been a little over a month now, but it still seems fresh. Certainly, it's
Yeah.
something that we still bring up and talk about with the kids, just to honor his legacy and keep him alive in our spirits and our minds and our hearts. And yeah, it's something that the community certainly rallied around. Certainly, you ask the boys to we talk about adversity a lot as how it pertains to a football game or a season, and ever so often things pop up that really test your resolve, and really test your resiliency. And I was really proud of how our kids handled a very difficult situation, and I think they've done a great job of continuing to honor Coach Roth and how they play and how they prepare and how they practice. And yeah, it's certainly something that's heavy on our hearts and fresh in our minds, but certainly something that we want to use to push us forward and know that we've got a special guy looking out for us and carrying us along here.
Yeah, they've handled it really well. I mean, you look at that senior class and handling, they've won 9+ games every senior or every season so far for you, coach. Like, when you have an experienced senior class like that that's had that success, how big is that this time of the year?
It's crucial. I'd mentioned earlier just the level of intensity, and focus and intent at practice, even to the film study, to the weight room. It can be really easy, however many weeks we are into the season, to start to look forward to the end, or get tired or get worn down. But to just to know what to expect, to know what's out there, what's ahead. It's crucial, and to know what type of teams are left and what we're going to see each and every week, and just how the level of intensity is going to continue to rise week in and week out. Having been there and been through those situations and faced adversity in the playoffs or tight losses in the playoffs, they understand what needs to be done at this time of year.
Hey, coach, appreciate the time. Best of luck the rest of the way.
Yeah, thank you very much, and again, very much appreciated to be on here.
That is Shawn Seematter, the head coach of the St. Mary's Colgan Panther football team, and that'll do it for our quality time interview.